because of the COVID outbreak, we had to sit one by one in classroom style, and I had to host this entire event with the mask on. So today I'm really glad that I'm allowed to have a little bit more facial expressions than I was allowed last year. And it's also wonderful to see all of you seated together and doing some networking. This year, we celebrate a huge milestone for the Livability Challenge. It's not quite the Queen's Jubilee, but it is our 5-year celebration, and I wanted to pause and reflect on what this community has achieved in that time. Back in 2018, when we came together to brainstorm the beginnings of the Livability Challenge, and I remember Li Lang coming to me, and we started having this idea, there was actually no platform like the TLC back then, and mainstream attention was just starting to turn to sustainability issues. There was recognition, however, on the need to have the Asia equivalent of the X Prize, and specifically focused on sustainability challenges. So, TLC was born, and with a mission to support deep tech, disruptive startups who are solving specific problems to make our urban environments more livable and sustainable. Over the years, we have built a community of partners, from governments to VCs, incubators, accelerators, experts, academia, corporates, civic society, who have become part of this ecosystem that enables sustainability entrepreneurship to thrive. TLC has since become an origination platform, and each year, more than 400 sustainability founders from all over the world apply to the challenge, and we go through a very deliberate process to select the best of the group, who are then presented to our steering committee of experts to then end up finally with the 6 best ideas who vie for the $1 million grant money. Along the way, we have picked up wonderful VC partners who have offered investments and funding outside of this $1 million grant money to further support our TLC finalists on their journey to commercialization and to scale. This catalytic capital is so crucial in playing a role in enabling ideas to go from lab to market. And without it, we will not stand a chance of addressing what the United Nations Environment Programme calls our triple planetary crisis. That is climate, nature, and pollution. We've heard from global meetings recently, everything from COP26 in Glasgow to the World Economic Forum in Davos, and most recently at Ecosperity, that we have entered an era of unprecedented fragility and uncertainty. The Russia-Ukraine war, the energy crisis, rising food prices, inflation, a bear market, the general erosion of trust, and increased geopolitical tensions has created a really tough macroeconomic environment. And it's a huge challenge for politicians and business leaders to stay singularly focused on the climate challenge. But the irony is that if we fail to address it today, we will face an exacerbation of all the problems that we're facing. So what's encouraging, though, is that we are seeing an era of overdue action. As much as 90% of global GDP is now covered by net zero pledges. And this sounds great, but how we will get there is the trillion-dollar question. Governments and companies are now sending the largest market signals in history to commercialize emerging climate tech by making unprecedented advanced purchase commitments by 2030, by putting a price on carbon, and by investing in research and development. This is why climate tech is now the biggest opportunity of our generation. And to translate this opportunity into outcomes, we need capital. Just to put things in perspective for you, global venture capital invested last year was $643 billion, and out of this pool, a record-setting $23 billion was on climate tech. But if you think about it, this is only 3.5%. And out of the 3.5%, less than 10% came to Asia. In the news today was the launch of the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, who've pointed out that the region needs $13.6 trillion in this decade to speed up the global net zero transition. So we still have a lot of work to do in this region, a lot of potential and opportunity to build on. And this is where TLC plays a key role, that we provide this platform to channel that capital. And on the back of the foundation led by TLC, we have, with our partners, also launched the SDG Co platform as a database of and a home for sustainability startups all around the region. We also launched a new fund called the Sustainable Future Fund to further deploy capital into early-stage companies to help them reach markets and achieve scale. Along with other impact-driven initiatives launched over the recent years, the sustainability startup scene today is thriving and vibrant. And we hope that even more partners will join us on this journey. Which now brings me to our partners today, some of the biggest names in the investment community, and I'm delighted to introduce them now. First up, we have John Kim, co-founder and managing partner of Amasia, who will be investing $100,000 into our finalists. And next, we have Michelle Ng, head of ESG at Quest Ventures, who is offering two $50,000 investments. And of course, we have Patty Chu, co-head of impact investment, Silverstrand Capital, who is offering a $100,000 investment, and a familiar face, Mr. Lim Hock Chuan, head of programs at Temasek Foundation, who will be providing the top $1 million prize for today's finale. We also have Ms. Von Leong, co-founder and general partner of Purpose Venture Capital, who is offering a $100,000 investment. And last but not least, also a very familiar face, Steve Maluish, entrepreneur and impact investor at PlanetRise, who will also be investing $100,000 today in one of our finalists. Now, I'm excited to be introducing the finalists of the Livability Challenge 2022, which featured the themes decarbonisation, food and agri-tech, and nature-based solutions. Please join me to welcome to our grand finale this year, Wasna from Belgium, Singapore, Sequestrate from United Kingdom, Gate from New Zealand and Singapore, Impact Fat from Japan, Red Dot Analytics from Singapore, and finally, Fairventures Social Forestry from Germany. Give it up for our finalists today. Thank you very much. Thank you to our finalist teams. You're going to be hearing from them very soon. In TLC tradition, we are going to be launching an audience poll for people in the room and also online, so you get to vote for your favorite team, and there's actually a prize for the audience vote. To start us off today, it's now my pleasure to introduce our first team, Wasna, from Belgium and Singapore, who will be presenting their solution on how to make cultivated meat affordable through a low-cost universal serum. Joining us today is Matteo Van Giel. Over to you, Matteo.
Hi, I'm Matthew from Wasna. We are making cultivated meat more affordable. We believe in a future where we do not need to slaughter animals in order to eat the food that we want. A future where farmers are raising our food sustainably. Cultivated meat is claimed to be this future, where we can grow meat with such a small ecological footprint that it's possible to make it right in city centers like here in Singapore. Perfect for our 30 by 30 goals. It will make Singapore less dependent on imports for our protein and chicken. There's a huge problem with cultivated meat, and it's the reason why it's only available in very small quantities. That problem is its cost, majority which comes from the incredibly expensive growth medium that cells require to grow outside of a living animal. The growth medium is a mixture of nutrients, which are the building blocks that cells need in order to grow, and growth factors, which are proteins that tell the cells to grow and multiply. These growth factors are conventionally derived from animal blood, such as fetal bovine serum, also known as FBS. Did you know that 2 million pregnant cows are slaughtered every year for fetal blood? Fetal bovine serum is the gold standard in cell cultures, and the serum you see here is worth $1,200 for a single 1 liter bottle. You can buy 50 bottles of good wine with that. Sadly, after 70 years of bioengineering, we are still relying on this necessary evil. Of course, it's crazy to make a replacement for real meat when you're still using real cows. That's why every cultivated meat company has made it its main quest to first remove animal blood from their production process. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could save these 4 million lives every single year? At Wasna, we are pursuing real, obtainable change for the future of our food and our planet. We have developed a patent-pending cell-based technology that produces animal-free growth serum that is safe, ethical, cost-effective, and performs just as well as FBS. Interestingly, is that we do not require any genetic modification of the cells that are grown with our serum. Our process is not that different from brewing beer with yeast, but instead, we are using sheep cells to produce a serum that contains more than 10 different growth factors in a circular process with a very small ecological footprint. With our process, we would be able to produce the entire existing serum market with emissions that are less than the lifetime emissions of 100 cows. We have no waste streams, since our spent medium can be valorized as a nutrient source to grow microorganisms. Although some large cultivated meat companies have been able to successfully replace animal serums, it has taken them more than half a decade of research to create a highly engineered growth medium that is only effective on one cell type, or muscle, or fat, or milk. These companies are trying to replace serum with growth factors that are created through precision fermentation. This is a technique where genetically modified organisms produce growth factors that are only expressed in animals. 40% of the emissions from sustainable cultivated meat are actually coming from the production of those growth factors. To create an effective growth medium, multiple growth factors are required, and each growth factor requires a separate production process that is energy intensive. And even after optimization to these media, it is still expensive to use. Other solutions, like plant-based serum, require genetic modification of the actual meat in order to use their economical solution. It's promising, but will only lead to more regulatory problems in large markets like Europe. At Wasna, we have developed a unique technology that produces universal cell-based serum. Our technology replicates natural processes and therefore can be applied to all cell lines. Our growth medium is now proven effective on cell types that companies have used to create muscle, fat, and milk. In our industry, $1 per liter growth medium is mentioned as the tipping point that will truly make cultivated meat scalable. Our technology does not require any breakthroughs in bioreactor design or engineering. With existing technologies that are currently used right here in Singapore, we are confident to reach this cost rather sooner than later. Our goal at Wasna is therefore to democratize cultivated meat, allowing more players, both big and small, to enter the industry. We expect to license our technology to cell culture companies. Several cultivated meat startups are also starting to experiment with our serum to check if their results are the same as on our equivalent cell types. Singapore's Esco Aster is the world's first, and till date, only company approved by food agencies to sell cultivated chicken for commercial sales, after it has gone through rigorous safety inspection. This is because they have all the regulatory approvals next to their incredible team of talent that Singapore is known for. They see the value in our technology, and together we will continue development and make this growing giant market truly accessible for all. Earlier wins will be extracting growth factors from our serum, just like what they do with conventional serums. These can be applied in the next 3 years in the growth factor market. But today, our product can also be sold in the life science industry at cost parity to those expensive animal serums, ideal for when we're still scaling up. But in order to reach true scale, we require your help. Esco Aster will give access to their regulatory compliant facilities and team of world-leading experts. Our first step is optimizing our livestock serum. Then together, we will scale up to reduce serum cost before we demonstrate the universality of our product by making pâté, a dish that is made of a variety of different tissues, currently impossible for a single company in the industry, as they only focus on the production of a single cell type. This is us. Although Wasna started with life savings, just to prove that it works, we are rapidly expanding the team, with core members in process engineering and cell development already identified. We also have a great list of advisors. Next to Esco Aster, we have a range of multi-industry experts where our technology is applicable. Cultivated meat is the dream, but we don't want to stick to just saving 4 million cows. We hope to save human lives too. Our first revenue is actually coming from a pharmaceutical Fortune 500 company. This is because our technology shows rejuvenating capabilities, opening up applications in tissue engineering and also in cell therapies for cancer research. Please help us reshape our world to a more sustainable future by democratizing the cultivated meat industry and giving access to all. Thank you for listening and giving us the chance to present to you.
Thank you very much, Wasna, for that presentation. I'd now like to invite Matteo on stage for the question and answer session with our judges. I believe that, John, you have a question for Matteo. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Fascinating company, fascinating technology. It just blows my mind that we're trying to do away with killing of animals to build kind of cell-based meat, and then you have to kill 4 million cows, including to literally drink their blood of their fetuses. That's just insane. So I understand why that doesn't make sense anymore, FPS. I understand why, I think animal blood and serum-free medium also sort of don't make sense just from a cost perspective. But just to double click first on the technology, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the precision fermentation limitations in a second, but just on the technology itself, what is it about sheep cells that makes that sort of compelling? Why isn't it cow cells? And you talked about how precision fermentation doesn't need to sort of change DNA at all, modify DNA. So doesn't that sort of problem pose sort of limitations here?
It's not related to being sheep cells. Actually, we can make it from every mammalian species. So the reason why we chose sheep cells is because it's eaten by all cultures, it's kosher, it's halal, it's eaten by Buddhists. So that's the reason why we chose sheep cells. But in the end, what organism it comes from does not really matter. And in fact, for life science, for example, it would be more suitable to choose human.
Interesting. What are the limitations on precision fermentation then? You said that there are certain things that it cannot do, correct?
So some limitations right now is, so precision fermentation is that you use bacteria or yeast, which are quite distantly related to us, to produce our growth factors. And the problem with this is that they do not really know how to fold them correctly. And even after that the protein is produced, humans and other species related to us, we have this thing called post-translational modifications, which is that extra things are putting onto the protein. And this is impossible to replicate with bacteria, for example. And this is why some growth factors that are currently used in cell cultures, in cultivated meat specifically also, that it's impossible to use anything but animal cells for that.
So proteins that are used for not cell-based meat, but meat that is based from precision fermentation, do they have that same issue with the folding of the proteins and so on?
To give you a very specific example, there's a growth factor called transforming growth factor beta-1. And the problem is that right now you can only source this if this is made in an animal cell. And even though they try to solve this issue, right now this is still not the case. And that's why this is incredibly expensive to get. And our solution naturally produces this one also. So this is not really a problem that we would have, because in the end, our growth factors in our product are the same as natural growth factors.
Okay, thank you. Just one last question. I didn't think I saw a whole lot about the competition. I saw about competing sort of technologies. But I saw that there are some other players out there, Masa Meat, Biftech, Maltus Media. How do you sort of position yourself versus these other competitors?
Yes, so there's quite a lot of competitors, because it's a very difficult problem that a lot of people try to solve. So Maltus Media is a serum-free company. The other one, Biftech, is a plant-based serum. And ours is cell-based. We also have cell-based competitors, but it does not necessarily make sense to make cell-based often. So the other methods are actually quite superior, except if you do it exactly like how we produce it. And yeah, so our solution is universal. So often these serum-free alternatives are highly specific to a single cell line. So, or it works on your cell line, does not necessarily mean it will work on another one. This is a very big problem, and that's why, like for example, the big Fortune 500 is very interested in our product, because we can show that we can test it on different cell lines. We have results that show that we can grow intestinal cells, we can grow muscle cells, we can grow kind of everything right now. And that is what makes it truly different. And of course, it's also possible to scale it up to a size that it becomes very cheap.
Great, thank you very much.
Question from Steve.
Hi, Matthew. Very, very exciting project. Very excited to see what you're doing. I had a question about cost, because obviously one of the key pain points you're trying to address is reducing the cost of the medium so it can actually scale cell-based meat. And so you talked about a sub $1 per litre was the target. How long and how much cost, how much investment do you think is going to be required before you get to that?
Okay, so to give you a more long-term view, in roughly it would take roughly 4 years to get to the largest bioreactors that are currently available in the market, which is roughly 20,000 liters. We can also use this because our technology is actually fairly similar to what they've been using for these bioreactors. And this would give us production per month that would be roughly 1/10 of the total existing serum market right now. So we don't really need to get to that point, but probably we will reach the low cost quite a lot earlier. In fact, right now at lab scale, our product is already cheaper than FPS. Then again, it's lab scale, so the cost of the lab itself is more expensive right now. But probably if you reach roughly 20 times as much as we produce right now, it should be already starting to get there.
Cool. And paying customer, first paying customer would be when?
We already have a customer that is paying, but the main reason for this is because they required samples, because it's a very big problem, right? So we could not provide any samples, so they wanted to cover the cost of the entire project just to give them samples to try out. And yeah, so, but this is of course not directly transferable, and ideally it's directly correlated with your actual production cost. The bigger you produce, the cheaper your product.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Matteo, for answering the questions from judges. Moving on to the second team, I'm now delighted to introduce Sequestrate on their solution, Permanent Utility Scale CO2 Sequestration for Cities and Industry. Joining us in person is Jerry Johnson, and he's joined by Steve Willis virtually. Over to you.
Good afternoon. I'm Hannah Willis, Environmental Science Officer at Sequestrate, and I'm proud to tell you about our exciting new process to sequester vast quantities of CO2. Arguably, the largest problem in the world today is the rising level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This has increased 50% in the last 200 years. We need to bring this down rapidly. The question is not how to capture it, but where to put it. We need a really big carbon sink. The ideal solution has got to be permanent and secure. It needs to be affordable, both in dollars and in energy, and it needs to be something we can start doing quickly. That's what we will deliver. Steve and Jerry are chemical engineers with decades of heavy industrial experience and large-scale projects. Their growing understanding of the science has shown them how urgent the climate crisis really is. They've focused on finding solutions that can be deployed quickly. With an idea and some support from the EU-backed Climate Launchpad and Accelerator programs, they set to work to build solutions that were big enough to make a difference. Their starting point was to identify where all the carbon is. To their great surprise, they found some good news. That 3/4 of mobile carbon is naturally dissolved in the oceans, forming an integral and critical part of the ocean's biological cycles. This ocean carbon has a lifetime of 10,000 years. The other discovery is that the atmosphere holds a surprisingly small part of the mobile carbon, only 1/3 of which is problematic. It's actually less than 1% of the carbon already in the ocean. So could the ocean be our ideal carbon sink? Yes, as long as the CO2 is converted into a useful, benign form that helps restore the ocean. Nature already converts millions of tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into a dissolved salt that helps heal the damage we are doing to the oceans. It's called calcium bicarbonate solution. Nature is fantastic, but it's slow, moving along in first gear. It's just not keeping up with the problem mankind is creating. We can do the same thing nature does, but we can do it quicker. We change up into 5th gear. We deliver carbon dioxide sequestration using nature's own process. We made a small factory of this natural process to convert carbon dioxide into bicarbonate solution, adding to the massive sink in the ocean. Inside the process, it's purely natural. It happens every day. What you see is not actually a factory, but a nature-mimicking process. We take one of the world's best processes addressing climate change and we turbocharge it. We take CO2 from concentrated sources, including biogas. CO2 from biogas is extracted using a simple membrane unit. The CO2 and limestone react together to make calcium bicarbonate, which is carried in wastewater streams that are already being discharged to the ocean. We've no need to pump the water. We have developed considerable know-how and tested our patented continuous flow system. Sequestrate is modular and scalable to suit local needs. Sequestrate is verifiable. The CO2 and product streams are directly measurable. Next, we plan to build a 1,000 tons per year industrial demonstration plant in Singapore. The sequestrate operating costs are low, as is the energy input at between 100 and 200 kilowatt hours per ton of CO2. Sequestrate provides a net benefit, sequestering 95% of the CO2. The raw materials are non-toxic and there are no harmful discharges. The calcium from the limestone benefits marine life by reducing the acidity. We will sell operating licenses to water treatment companies and manage the sale of the high-value carbon credits. High-permanence carbon credits like these are in very short supply and trade above $100 per ton. We have a letter of intent from carbon credit buyer Milky Wire, and we have been in discussions with others. We keep costs low by using existing resources, including existing water discharges. We sequester CO2 that is sourced locally, a byproduct from anaerobic digesters making biogas, which avoids transportation costs. Our beachhead market is the wastewater treatment industry, which is found all over the world, sequestering CO2 from biogas plants. Given the high demand for sequestration and our scalability, from small beginnings we can have a huge impact. We are expecting a 30% year-on-year growth, which will take us to 1 gigaton scale by 2038. At scale, we can achieve a marginal sequestration cost as low as $50 per ton. The two key inputs are the costs of limestone and electricity, which vary by location. As we grow, we expect to be able to work directly with renewable energy providers to drive down electrical costs. We avoid most of the crushing costs of more conventional approaches, and we can accept limestone quarry wastes. Our costs compare favorably with a small number of existing processes and systems in development. To put our costs into perspective, moving CO2 from the UK to offshore Norway is estimated at $100 per ton, before adding the costs of deep injection, and direct air capture is currently estimated at $300 to $600 per ton. That makes our process very attractive. In Singapore, we can create a global technology hub supplying equipment, finance, and knowledge, just as Singapore has done for the shipping and offshore industries. And we can integrate our sequestration process into new seawall defences. These factors make sequestrate ideal to help deliver Singapore's net zero commitment. Singapore is an excellent hub for ocean-based carbon sequestration solutions. The co-founders, Steve and Jerry, each have 30 years of industrial experience in both Europe and Asia. They've been working together for 5 years and on sequestrate since 2020. We have a mixed and capable team of researchers, experts, and advisors. Sequestrate is the perfect partner for Singapore's forward-thinking approach to net zero. Thank you.
Thank you, Sequestrate, for your presentation. We will now move into the question and answer session. So we would welcome Jerry on stage, and joining him on stage virtually is Steve. I believe our judge, Michelle, has some questions for you. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you for your presentation. I think it's a worthwhile effort to address the excess carbon dioxide in oceans. So I have a few questions. Maybe the first one would be, how quickly can a city adopt and deploy this technology? And for example, in Southeast Asia, cities like Singapore, Jakarta, and Hanoi, perhaps you could give us an idea.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question very well.
How quickly can a city adopt and deploy this technology?
Once we've built a demonstrator, we'd be in a position then to scale up relatively quickly. We need resources which are already available, so this is using existing technological components and should allow us to be able to implement in many different locations.
Got it.
So to add to that, we'll be looking to build 1,000-ton-a-year demonstrator units and then roll out commercial scale units around wastewater treatment plants around the region and around the world. That'll take us to plants which add up to billions of tons, and then beyond that we'll hope to reach billions of tons by 2038.
Okay, I think the question is more about once the technology is ready, the speed at which it can be deployed, but I get that perhaps that would be for a later stage discussion. For the second question, it would be more of how are you going to secure a sustainable supply of the limestone? Because if you're to scale up this reaction, right, then how are you going to secure a steady supply of the limestone?
Limestone is actually a very common mineral all over the world, and already the cement industry is mining the order of 10 billion tons a year. So in the early phase, we would be making use of the same quarrying facilities that are feeding into the construction industry. And for the most part, we should be able to find limestone quite close to where we're going to implement the technologies across the industrialized world.
Yeah. So the process needs three main ingredients. They're large water flows, which we'll find on wastewater treatment plants, CO2, which we'll also find on the same plants, and the limestone, which is actually the smallest of the three ingredients, which will be delivered to the sites.
Yeah, I was just thinking if it becomes massively successful and everyone in the world is using this, right? So the resources are finite, the limestones will be as well. So are there any other alternatives for this reaction?
There are some other minerals, and we may be able to make use of some of those. Each industrial quarrying operation supplying various metals and minerals has wastes, and some of those can be used.
Thank you. Maybe just one more before I let the other judges have a chance to ask questions. Are there any social impact, positive or negative, when you are carrying this out?
Sorry, are there any negative?
Social impact, human-centered impact when you are actually carrying this out, this reaction in the city itself.
So the impact on the world at both ends in terms of the supply of limestone, but that's no different to the cement industry today with its quarrying operations. And the discharge to the oceans is actually beneficial. So our testing shows that it actually helps the seaweeds growing, and of course it's what the calcifying organisms need. They need a boost in the calcium in the oceans to grow. So we anticipate positive outcomes.
And for the cities themselves, the sequestrate process supplies a disposal location where they can put industrial CO2 and get rid of it in their own locations.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. I think we have time for a couple more questions. Patty, go ahead.
Hello. So I have two questions. One is related, I noticed from one of the figures that it seems like you need quite a number of people to operate the plant. Not sure if I got it right, because I think it was like 180 or something. So I just wanted to understand, is it really, to make this process work, do you need I guess, heavy on, people operating it? And then the other question is related to, while I agree that the current cost of carbon credits is pretty low, I'm not sure if we are ready or the market is ready to pay $150 a ton at the moment. So I'm just wondering, I know you mentioned one company, but yeah, just wondering who else do you have in the pipeline, and is that cost going to come down, and yeah.
Well, let me take those in turn. The labor cost that you saw for the very low capacity unit is simply because it is so small. At scale, in fact, like any continuous industrial process, the labor input is very, very small. So that's simply a scale issue. In terms of carbon credits, the market is divided amongst or the price that's paid for many bio-based credits is very low because of the lack of permanence of those credits. What we see at the other end of the scale, there's tremendous pent-up demand for permanent carbon sequestration. And already there's clear evidence, for example, from the sale of biochar, which is a very permanent solution, the prices are robustly well above $100 today. And so we've got very good indications that the price will be at that point. In terms of buyers, we mentioned one. We have what you have is a large number of industrial companies, corporations around the world, who have made commitments to go net zero, and they need a supply of reliable carbon credits and are willing to pay these high prices.
Thank you very much. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you, judges, and thank you, Sequestrate, for your responses. Thank you, Steve. For our third team this afternoon, please welcome Sarav Joshua Benzel and Joshua Tyson from GATE. They will be sharing their solution for measuring carbon flux in real time. Over to you.
Hi, my name is Sarav, and I'm the CEO of Green Artificial Intelligence Technology, otherwise known as GATE. Let me set the scene. There is no doubt that climate change is one of the prevailing issues that faces us as humans today, and nature-based solutions are exponentially growing in size, spread, and impact. However, although there is fantastic work being done globally, there exists an enormous issue encapsulated by a simple question. How can true impact and progress be achieved if we do not know how to measure what is happening? This is where GATE comes in. GATE is a Singapore-based technology company with current projects around the world, and we specialize in AI, big data, and green analytics for MRV, which stands for measurement, reporting, and verification. But why is this needed? Well, the current measurement of projects include physically measuring trees with measuring tapes, relying on physical samples, Excel calculators, and a very outdated level of tech. This causes industry-wide inaccuracies, inefficiencies, scalability limitations, and so much more. Many pain points that every industry player can attest to. So what can GATE do? Well, GATE's technology, the GATE system, can simplify a carbon project MRV with a central measurement technology that incorporates three key components: flux sensors, spatial data, and the GATE AI engine. Let me put that all together to explain how it works. Based on a nature-based project's physical location, GATE acquires relevant spatial data, including multispectral, hyperspectral, and satellite imagery, and assesses the variability of a project's ecosystem, the types of vegetation, potential yields, and more. And this analysis allows GATE to determine the ideal location and density of flux sensors, which when deployed, collect gas samples at a rate of 10 samples per second. The flux sensors measure something called the net ecosystem exchange of gases. Essentially, this is a cycle of gases between the atmosphere and the ground, and acts as the most accurate ground truthing available. Through IoT, cloud, and GATE AIML, the data is then extrapolated and correlated with spatial data to enable real-time monitoring of a project to the highest accuracy possible. And so, backed by scientific evidence, extensive benchmarking against traditional methods, and active deployments, the GATE system is first of all accurate. GATE can achieve over 99% accuracy for metrics such as carbon sequestration, as opposed to the 80% industry average. Second of all, GATE is efficient. GATE can process data at resolutions up to 10 times per second, enabling exponentially faster results, but also at reduced costs. And the GATE system is scalable. GATE retains that consistent accuracy and efficiency, whether a project is 1 hectare or 1 million hectares. And the GATE system is project agnostic, meaning that it can be used across all project types, whether it's soil, forestry, or even blue carbon. And so the applications are countless. As a centralized MRV technology, GATE enables metrics such as carbon abatement in all nature-based carbon pools, greenhouse gas fluxes, and so much more depending on a project's needs. We offer this to our government and private clients with SaaS and carbon credit success models, as our data has innumerable applications and countless insights. Overall, we unlock the ability to effectively measure, report, and verify at scale with a project-agnostic technology that helps enable true impact. There's a lot to unpack there, but let's go to today's focus and what GATE's project proposal is all about: blue carbon. What is blue carbon? Well, blue carbon projects are projects that can generate high-quality carbon removals from the rejuvenation of coastal and marine ecosystems. This includes mangroves, seaweeds, coastlines, and more. And blue carbon today is an enormous potential market. a mature blue carbon market could deliver more than 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide removal and avoided emissions per year. But there are a number of prevailing issues that limit the scale and uptake of blue carbon across social, governance, finance, and technical areas. However, GATE has the solution. As an initial use case, in the Pacific nation of Tonga, GATE has identified and begun plans for 20,000 hectares of potential blue carbon projects to develop an effective blue carbon MRV solution and methodology. But why Tonga? Well, I'm a proud Indian and Tongan, and I spent a lot of time in both regions as a child, and the effects of climate change are very apparent in South Asia and the Pacific. You see the effects on agriculture, the coastlines, the environment, and the people, and blue carbon is such an enormous opportunity to make a real impact. And the first step of our journey there is a mangrove restoration project on the main island of Tongatapu. This project will be one of the world's most high-tech blue carbon projects, utilizing the GATE system to produce certifiable abatement. The project will also generate a raft of co-benefits, including habitat restoration for local biodiversity and local jobs and skills development. The stretch that we've identified was devastated by the recent tsunami and is in dire need of restoration. And the stretch and this project can serve as a lighthouse of hope, impact, and momentum towards a better future. And so to enable this project, GATE would co-fund alongside the funding from the Livability Challenge to maximize impact. This means resources towards environmental engineering, such as GIS mapping, vegetation surveys, operational procedures at a world-class level, project administration for methodology development and reporting, technology costs, plantation costs, and overall, the assets required to develop what is undeniably an industry-defining project. And the project and the deliverables will be in conjunction alongside leading standards, leading nature-based developers such as Corporate Carbon, the local Tongan government, and Climate Impact Act acting as observers. Because right now, there is little to no data on blue carbon out there. A search will show a huge disparity in estimates and guesses. GATE aims to solve this by delivering qualification of the expected rates of carbon sequestration for mangrove restoration projects, generation of IP in blue carbon project development, and quantifying ROI, methodology development to certify carbon abatement while lowering costs, and developing a scalable operational model. All of this would enable GATE to scale, not just across the region, but globally, to ensure the highest quality and integrity of impact, sequestration, and credits. This could help catalyze the more than 1.5 billion potential tons of blue carbon abatement, 35% of which is in Southeast Asia alone, and all of this could be unlocked by GATE. So to conclude, within the last 9 months, we've expanded with a global team of 18 across Asia Pacific, and we're still hiring. We have over 600,000 hectares of projects in the pipeline, with a projected 1.5 million hectares by the end of the year. We have projects across Southeast Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific, with both government and private bodies. GATE is at full momentum, and we want to use our technology to generate a true impact on climate change. This is only the beginning, and there's still so much work to do. So we hope that we can go from here and continue our mission. And thank you all for this opportunity. Cheers.
Thank you for your presentation, GATE. Let's welcome Sarav and Joshua on stage, and we will now into the Q&A. Over to you.
Thanks, Joshua. Thanks. Yeah, I think GATE is trying to solve a really important issue, the accuracy of measurement of nature-based solutions. So maybe I'll start with the technology. So I know you explained the kind of 3 components of it. So in terms of the flux towers, is that just sort of Campbell towers, or is that proprietary hardware that you develop? I'm assuming satellite data is just open source, and then the AI, machine learning, wondering like how long you've taken to develop that, where's that data coming from, what kind of models are there?
Yeah, for sure. No, fantastic questions. I guess hello. Yeah, I'll start by just saying, thank you for the opportunity, and of course, we're very honored to be part of the Livability Challenge. I guess to jump straight into it, with the flux sensors, they're based on a micrometeorological principle called eddy covariance, which was invented back in the 1950s. And so for the last 7 decades, the eddy covariance principle has been irrefutably proven to be the most defensible and accurate way to measure gas fluxes. The sensors themselves that capture eddy covariance have been around since the 90s. And so you had the scientific principle and you had the sensors, But the issue was that the data is so complex from the sensors that it would take a team of experts weeks to work through the calculations and the algorithms. So essentially what we did is we took that science, we took those sensors, and we built an artificial intelligence engine to process the data using IoT, cloud, and machine learning to enable the scientific principle to be commercially scalable. And then to the second part of your question, yeah, the spatial data is both privately and publicly sourced. We use that to correlate that with the sensor data itself to essentially extrapolate it to a much larger scale.
So what kind of natural ecosystems have you modeled already in your machine learning or your model?
So we are currently working in all nature-based projects. We have proof of concepts established in the soil carbon market, as well as REDD+ projects. We're soon to be launching an environmental plantings project in Australia that we'll be benchmarking our technology against, that is currently enrolled in the full CAM method. So ultimately our 12-month plan is all about technology validation, and that is benchmarking our measurements against the accepted accounting principles in various international standards. And that is why our uptake and the attention we're receiving from the market has been so significant. We're looking to be able to generate a premium for those projects with more data, and we're also looking to create market access and scale. Those are the current barriers that our technology will address.
My understanding, the main pain point of eddy covariance it's very expensive. So I wanted to ask about the cost of one of your, I don't know, per hectare, per acre. How do you calculate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So effectively the sensors, there's a law of diminishing returns that applies to the sensors. They're purely for model calibration. We estimate that within 5 years we could be completely decoupled from purchasing new hardware, and we can reposition hardware in other parts of the world to continue our field calibrations and to retain that accuracy that we need. So cost per hectare currently is, I can go at a full project scale. We're currently 55,000 USD to cover 10 to 30,000 hectares of monitoring. We don't know what the upper limit of that is over a homogeneous terrain. So dependent on the variability, that will require more sensors. So I hope that kind of explains the complexity and dynamics that we interface with at a commercial level, where we're ultimately just looking for project access to do the fine tuning over 12 to 24 months to have a standardized offering. Right now it's SaaS fee and success fee models that we've got traction with.
You've already tested the technology in projects. Have you verified and credits, or credits have been verified and
So
sold?
to date, we haven't verified credits. Essentially, the stage where we're at is over the next 12 months with our current project access, as I mentioned, about 600,000 hectares currently in our pipeline, is very much to validate the technology. So what we're currently doing is working with some of the world's largest nature-based solution developers to benchmark our technology and what our metrics are against the current standards out there. So in saying that though, within Australia specifically, within the Emissions Reduction Fund specifically, within the Regulatory Board of Australia, our technology actually fits to currently already be able to issue credits there. So yeah.
Yeah, so we're commercially operational under the 21 soil carbon method in the Emissions Reduction Fund, which I think is a signal to the marketplace to expect more technology agnostic validation protocols for crediting. So that's our forecast for the market, and we believe that we can unlock that completely within 2 years.
Question, Mr. Lim?
I'm very impressed by your presentation. You mentioned you're trying to measure carbon flux from blue carbon. What is the difference in your flux tower equipment configuration for measuring blue carbon as compared to, say, carbon flux from forested area?
Yeah, so essentially it's from a technology point of view for us, it's the same. So the best way I'd explain it is, I'll use the analogy of a balloon just to kind of show how it's scalable across different project types. So if you imagine you have a balloon, and that balloon is representative of your project area, whatever it may be that you're measuring, what every single technology and methodology currently does is they'll take that balloon and how much gas is in it on day one, then again measure it after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and so forth to get your sequestration rates and such. Whereas what we're doing is we're measuring the rate of the gas coming in and out of the balloon itself in real time. So that carbon flux is what's called the net ecosystem exchange of gases. If you have the atmosphere up here and the ground down here, we just measure that cycle of gases. Hence our ability to be agnostic to projects. So yeah, from a technology point of view, exactly the same.
And I might just backstop that from an engineering point of view, and how we would use the funds in this blue carbon project is actually to design a standardized way to deploy our sensors into a blue carbon project and a marine ecosystem. We're going to have to be doing some sophisticated environmental impact surveys, and we're in the process of developing standard operating procedures that we think take this project as a blueprint that we can scale through the region.
Thank you very much, Team Gate. I think that's all the time we have for. Please join me on stage. Thank you very much. And for our fourth team this afternoon, please welcome Shigeki Sugi, Mandy Hon, and Wee Kiet Ong from Impact Fat, whose mission is to enhance nutrition and the taste of alternative meats with cell-based fats. The floor is yours.
Hello, we are from Impact Fat. Our mission is to develop fish cell-based fat that enhances taste and nutrition of alternative meats. So we offer the fat that people are willing to gain.
Over the years, there has been a rise in alternative meat products. The alternative meat industry tackles with various issues that are in line with the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations. Issues such as overfishing, ocean pollution, animal pathogens, and animal welfare. Although this industry is able to tackle these various important environmental issues, it is still facing a limitation. Potential consumers are lost simply because these products may not feel or taste like real meat. This is due to the fact that it often lacks good fat, which is necessary for a good mouthfeel, flavor, and overall nutrition of the meat. From a piece of Wagyu beef to a piece of tori sushi, people want fatty meat. And this is where Impact Fat comes in. We provide you with fat sourced from fish cells, meant to improve values such as taste, aroma. They are also safe to use, no antibiotics and no pollutants such as microplastics are present, and only food-grade components are used. Our fish fat cells are also high in nutrition, high in omega-3 fatty acids, and low in saturated fat. So you may be wondering, how different is our fat from other types of fat? Other types of fat, looking at livestock fat, it typically contains more saturated fat than fish fat. And this is why we emphasize on using the fish species rather than the livestock species. Oils and lipids, as we all know, are heavily processed via physical or chemical means, and they are susceptible to oxidation during storage, where they lose their nutritional value. Impact Fat, however, produces a much more natural end product. Our fish fat cells, we like to call them as a nutritional reservoir because they are high in nutrition such as omega-3 fatty acids, and we are also able to customize depending on the individual alternative meat company's needs. And hence, our end consumer is able to reap the benefits of consuming healthier alternative meat. So most companies are focused on making cultivated muscle. There are a few companies who tackle on making cultivated fat, but we are the only ones focusing on seafood cultivated fat. So how do we do it? We isolated premium stem cell lines from more than 6 different fish species back in 2019 and established the best cell culture conditions to efficiently convert them into mature fat cells, which contains the nutrients that we want. This work was supported by the Singapore Food Story R&D program, and we have filed a patent for our tech. Looking at our product roadmap, last year we created our first prototype incorporating Impact Fat, and this year we want to focus on creating the pilot scale production system that creates the commercial fat that is optimal in taste and nutrition for our consumers. And once there are more players in the market, we want to create a cost competitive pricing and gain regulatory approval to start selling Impact Fat products in the market, both locally and globally, looking into markets like US, Japan, and China. Our total addressable market is the alternative meat market, which is definitely big and ripe enough to go into adjacent markets like the fat ingredient market and cultivated meat market. Our market reach is 5%, equating up to a revenue of more than 1 billion. And we are targeting the alternative meat manufacturers through a B2B direct sales model. So we do have a lot of potential partners that are already well established in this industry. Hence, we are able to tap on their distribution models and current consumers. Also, among the manufacturers, there has been an increasing demand for fat supplementation. And hence, we are working on supplementing the plant-based products and cell-based products, not only limiting to fish products, but also looking into livestock products like beef, chicken, and pork. This would potentially increase the customer acceptance rates, hence further improving the environmental impact of this industry. The same technology can also be used to create derivative products like food paste, nutritional supplements, and cosmetic products. So why us? We have the first mover advantage with a strong IP positioning, and the government is supportive with the 30 by 30 goals. And being an A-star spin-off company, we have more than 5 potential partners in each of the plant-based and cultivated meat industries, the media component and biomaterial suppliers, and the bioreactor manufacturers. We have a team with strong and diverse expertise, with our core team as members with more than 20 years of experience in fat stem cells research, entrepreneurship, the F&B industry, nutrition, GMP production, manufacturing, and marketing. Our advisory committee also has relevant expertise in the culinary, strategic, and aquaculture industry. And together, we would like to use the funds to develop a platform for pilot scale approach, whereby we create a novel food ingredient that needs certain testing for safety and nutritional analysis to gain regulatory approval, and also to assess the top talent and infrastructure for setting up large-scale manufacturing facilities. Here's our prototype once again, where we have supplemented impact fat into a commercially available plant-based product to improve its nutrition and taste. With our vision, we would like for future consumers to be able to experience a nutritious, tasty, and last but not least, alternative meat that feels like real meat.
So we strive to revolutionize people's perception of fat. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Impact Fat, for your presentation. I would now like to welcome Shigeki, Mandy, and Wikiet on stage for the question and answer with our judges. Mr. Lim, over to you.
Hi, Shigeki and the team. Thank you very much. It's a very interesting project. What a lot of people do not realize is that fat and cholesterol, they are very tasty. And that's why there's always an interest in fat. But back to your project on fat itself, given that fat cells are low density and they are very viscous and they will float and they will stick to the wall. And so how do you intend to harvest and collect the fat cell in your bioreactor given all these characteristics?
Yes, that's a good question. We tackle that technically in our team. So we intend to use microcarriers, edible microcarriers that our fat cells adhere to and in the suspension cultures. And after that, we use some enzyme to dissociate. And we are using the filter to recover all the fat cells so that we can remove the media components.
So, okay, that's interesting. So you have proposed a prototype bioreactor 100 liter, and then when it's successful, you scale. What are the challenges you foresee when you try to scale the production?
Yes, so this could be in two folds. One is, of course, the cost of the media and media components that we use. Currently, the media we use are expensive because they are biomedical grade. But we are working with potential partners and suppliers who can make these components really cheap. And the second challenge would be the bioprocessing technologies and engineering. So that's why we are seeking to hire the top talent who has the best knowledge in scaling up our biomanufacturing system.
What is your key IP or the differentiating factor that you have, and what is the barrier to entry for people to come into these spaces?
So we filed the patent because before we established the fish adipocytic cell lines, there has been no patent reported. So we have a unique IP which describes the cell line development, and we also established a unique protocol for growing our cell lines and then converting our stem cells into mature fat cells. So all these three components are unique to us.
Is this something difficult for other people to follow in terms of barrier to entry?
So do you mean that other people
could do the same? Yeah.
To do the same. So to do that, they may have to use our technology, which is patented. But the same technology may be applicable to other fish cells. And I have to say that our protocol are specific to the fish cell types.
Yeah. So I hope you'll be successful and you can commercialize your product. And to reach there, what is your business model? Who are your partners? How do you intend to penetrate the market?
Yes, so our target customer will be the manufacturers of alternative meats, so that they already have the idea, how they want to complement the fat. And many of us actually say that they are looking for the better fat components. Right now they use processed oil and derivatize, either physically or chemically, and complement to their own alternative products like plant-based meats. But by partnering with them, they have a better idea, and of course they have more customer base and supply chain network.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lim. Any other judges have questions for them? No? Steve, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I had one question. So first of all, I guess if you can improve the taste and the texture and nutrition of food, that's fantastic. So I welcome that. I understand that the target market is about $2 billion from existing fat ingredient market, and so it's dominated today by livestock and oil and lipids. So how much of that market do you think you might be able to realistically address?
Sorry, I didn't catch your last sentence.
How much of that market do you think you might be able to address of the fat ingredient market with your technology?
So how much do you say?
Yeah.
So we believe that at least there is a demand for complementing plant-based meats in fat components. So we expected that at least 5%, perhaps 10% of the alternative meat will be on the fat components. So based on the current figures, it will be at least $1 billion to $2 billion. And alternative meat market is growing. So we expect this to be grow every year. Like it's about 70% annual growth rate. So our potential should be more than that.
Thank you.
Any last questions? We have a minute left.
I just wanted to know if you guys are looking at the health supplement market as well.
Yes, so people may wonder, we can be used for the alternative to the fish oil. The answer, yes, possible. But I think people are already satisfied with fish oil products. Of course, we can make it better because our product is less oxidized, which leads to healthier fat. But then we still see the larger gap in improving the alternative meat markets. So, and market is also bigger, and we already have a potential partner interested. So this is the area of our focus right now.
Okay, thank you very much to our team, Impact Fat. I can invite you off stage. Thank you very much to the team. For our fifth finalist this afternoon, we have Wen Yonggang and Colin Zhu from Red Dot Analytics from Singapore, who will be sharing with us their solution on decarbonizing global data center operations at a gigaton scale.
We are Red Dot Analytics, and it's a great honor to share our award-winning data-centric solution to decarbonize global data center operations at a gigaton scale. We're living in an era of data explosion due to the rise of digital economy. IDC forecasts new data creation to grow at an annual rate of 23%, resulting in 175 zerobytes of data creation by 2025. Storing and processing this huge amount of data demands more data center infrastructure, growing at an annual rate of 17%. Data centers are huge energy customers, predicted to consume 10% of world's electricity by 2030. Excessive electricity consumption would lead to significant carbon emissions. By 2030, the carbon footprint of global data center would rise to 2.73 gigaton, which would take 5 times the Amazon rainforest to sequester. Therefore, reducing the carbon footprint of data center will contribute significantly to the global carbon zero goal and the UN SDG Goal 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure. But how can we reduce this digital carbon footprint? The most promising techniques to address this problem are 2. Firstly, just-in-time cooling dynamically matches the cooling load with a real-time IT load that could potentially reduce up to 40% waste in cooling energy compared to the current practice of fixed setting point. Secondly, server consolidation migrates IT load from multiple servers with low CPU utilization to fewer servers with high CPU utilization, which reduces the idle server power consumption, leading to up to 50% of IT energy saving for a typical data center. However, when DC operators try to implement them through the current machine learning solutions, they inevitably run into the issue of low data quality and risk-averse mindset of facility managers, hence not achieving the ideal results. RDA's DCWE solution was developed to tackle these issues by introducing a high-accurate digital twin as a proxy for the AI engine to interact with the physical DC. Digital twin refers to a digital replica of the physical elements and affiliated processes. Our solution with a digital twin and AI is able to firstly generate additional operational data of high accuracy, leveraging the existing sensing capabilities of DC operations, and secondly, to validate control actions and assess the risk-return ratio to give DC operations a peace of mind when coming to decide on the operational changes. In 2021, we have deployed our solution to a 1.18 megawatts data center in Singapore for a proof of concept trial. In this trial, we have achieved an annual electricity cost savings of 360,000 Singapore dollars and carbon reduction of 1,000 tons. The ROI for our trial customer is 12 months. In Singapore, we're working with the government agencies to roll out our solution as part of DC Green Mark certificate. When our solution is fully deployed to the 70 major data centers in Singapore by 2025, it will decarbonize national data center operations by 370,000 tons. It is equivalent to greenhouse emissions from 270,000 cars driven for 1 year, and it would need forests of 8.5 times the area of Singapore to sequester this amount of emissions. Globally, we're working with the Asian Development Bank and World Bank to standardize our solution for global adoption. When fully deployed by 2030, it would potentially decarbonize DC operations by 1.09 gigaton per year, which is on par with the 2021 carbon footprint of Japan, or the sum of Canada and France. In terms of business model, we will first focus on enhancing our solution and platform to improve DC energy efficiency and expand across geographic regions. Secondly, we will extend our services with carbon certification, which leverages our platform and industry leadership position to generate more recurring income. Finally, we will tap into the market of green financing by collaborating with global financial institutes such as banks to help their clients secure better funding. Altogether, we're targeting at a global total addressable market of $100 billion. We will adopt a two-legged go-to-market strategy, including key account and product-led growth. This chart illustrates our projected sales for the next 5 years. Many see the current problems in DC management, but if we look at the maturity model, RDA operates in layers 4 and 5, while the majority of commercially available solutions are in layers 2 and 3. Our solution has 3 salient features that distinguish us from the competitors. 1, software-based solution to leverage existing sensors, lowering CapEx investment. 2, robust optimization for greater peace of mind, and 3, human in the loop to seamlessly integrate with existing workflow. Our technology differentiates us as it's built upon a decade-long R&D efforts by Prof. Wen Yonggang at NTU with a strong record in IP. We've won multiple international technical awards, including 2015 Data Center Dynamics Award. Previously, we conducted POC trials with DC customers such as Alibaba and PDX. Alibaba has hailed our solution as a 0-to-1 breakthrough in its media release. We're also in the process of conducting POC trials with Equinix, a leader in global colocation data center market. In addition, we've signed MOUs with major DC customers like Facebook and Rack Central to conduct POV of our solution. Should we win, we plan to use the prize money to scale our solution for POV trials, data center projects with larger rated IT loads to demonstrate cost saving and decarbonization. Previously, we've demonstrated our solution in an edge data center of 1.18 megawatts, and next we will allocate 400,000 Singapore dollars to a POV trial with an enterprise data center of 5.6 megawatts in 2023 and 600,000 Singapore dollars for a colocation data center of 22 megawatts in 2024. In this way, we would cover all market segments, including edge DC, enterprise DC, and colocation DC for a global expansion. At RDA, we have assembled a passionate team for technology, development, and commercialization led by Prof. Wen Yonggang, an IEEE fellow and tech leader in green data center research. We have also equipped us with a team of highly specialized advisors in strategy planning, enterprise sales, and venture building. Join us in our vision to build a sustainable digital future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Red Dot Analytics, for that presentation. And we now like to welcome Yonggang and Colin on stage for the question and answer segment. And I believe Vaughn has some questions for you. Over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, Yonggang. Hi, Colin. I'm Vaughn. I'd like to ask, Singapore has a moratorium policy for data centers since 2019. How are you going to help with your offerings with the existing traditional data centers to reach target PUE under 1.3?
Sure. Thanks, Ben, for a very insightful question. Actually, as a lot of people know, since 2019, government put a temporary moratorium on new data center build. And so for 3 reasons. First is the high energy consumption, second is the carbon emission, and third one is the space limitation. And early this year, January, government had a new initiative to temporarily lift the moratorium under 2 conditions. Number 1, the new data center needs to work with local SME or tech providers to achieve sustainable outcome, means reduce carbon emission, reduce PUE, and also reduce energy consumption. And second, the new data center needs to demonstrate economic impact to Singapore. So actually, we are the go after, well thought after partners to work with all these data center operators to put up the new proposals to the government to actually demonstrate that they can achieve sustainable outcome, specifically to reduce the PUE, which is the definition of the power efficiency ratio between the total power consumption and the IT consumption from 2.1 right now to 1.3. Actually, we are going to play an important role in that aspect.
Most of them are actually not digitized, right? They make up like 80% of the marketplace for the data centers. But what would be the existing, services that you're going to offer to really support that?
Sure. So actually, data center market have 2 parts. One is the brown build, and the other is a green build. For brown build, which is the 80%, as you mentioned, actually a lot of they are in the process of doing digital transformation, specifically putting more digital workflow into the place, such that they can reduce the energy consumption. That's where we come in to use digital twin as the enabler for them to test out new workflow, and that's a very important aspect, because in order to integrate new workflow, they have to address the issue of risk. Because data center are mission critical infrastructure, they have to guarantee a certain level of SLA. So previously, without digital twin and AI, they may not be able to adopt new ideas, new changes to the existing data center
workflow. And in that aspect, we are the unique solution in the market. Actually, can help them to make through that digital transformation journey in data centers. Actually, we also play an important role for a lot of data center operators to go through their digital transformation journey. And one example would be Equinix here. Probably people know is the largest data center operator in the world. Actually, we make a really effort to actually convince them that this is the way to go. And after we pitch our solution to the team of 35 tech leads from all over the world from Equinix, they finally decide to adopt our solution for PLC.
And just to add on to Prof. Wen, so we think our solution is very relevant to the existing data centers because our solution is purely software-based, so it requires a minimum retrofitting for the existing data centers in order to adopt our solution to help them reduce the carbon footprints.
We are always excited about companies that has a business model to scale and with global ambitions, right? I heard about your ADB venture partnership as well as some of the plans outlined there. But how fast are you ready to scale up outside of Singapore? And which are the first few markets that you're going to tackle? Why and how?
Yes, that is a very good question. So we understand, although Singapore might be a regional leader in decarbonization, right? We definitely need to tap into the regional markets and even other industry verticals. So for the regional markets, our first few pilot program is going to be in Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. Actually, we're already in active discussion with the Malaysian data center operators as of now. And in terms of the other industry verticals, because our solution is first used in data centers, but it's also applicable to other mission-critical infrastructures, such as oil and gas industries, as well as government agencies. So our next step will also try to scale our products to other mission-critical facilities nearby.
Yeah. Okay, I can add on that. To scale our solution from data center to other mission-critical infrastructure, we're also in discussion with airport, oil and gas field, and chemical plants, and actually talk about potential POCs as well.
Okay, that's exciting. My final question is, what is the financial opportunity for carbon credits? And how you, if there is, how would you be able to do that?
I'll take this first. So that is very relevant because, as we all know, right, everyone is talking about sustainability and the carbon credits, but there's a big problem existing in the current market, which is greenwashing. Right? A lot of people claim they're doing decarbonization, but which is not. So our solution, which is based on a very realistic replica of the real physical world, the digital twin, is able to provide the investors or the operators or owners with a very faithful information about the operating conditions or the green conditions of whatever asset that is under consideration. So in the future, right, in terms of green certification or green financing, there's a very bright horizons for our solutions to be adopted by financial institutions.
And to add on that, actually recently we signed the MOU with a green finance exchange platform. It's actually using our digital twin information as the audited information to for data center owners or for other stakeholders to go on that platform to actually secure financing for their project.
Thank you very much. Von had so many questions for you. That's all the time we have for. Please join me to thank Red Dot Analytics. Thank you. Now, last but not least, we have our final team this afternoon. Please welcome in person Paul Schull and Tisha Ramadini, who is joined virtually by Robert Berman, and they will take us through the solution to sustainable land management and livelihood improvement through a scalable social forestry model that incorporates blended finance. Please welcome Fairventures.
We hear about climate change and people losing their livelihoods almost every day. And often we ask ourselves, what can I do? Can I do anything that is big enough to make a real difference? This is what I asked myself when I first visited Borneo in 2016. Seeing the landscapes there destroyed by large-scale monocultures, illegal logging, illegal mining, and slash-and-burn agriculture, it really hit me. it was clear to me that we need a solution that can do two things. One, address the social issues on the ground, and two, use a business mechanism to scale. What does this mean? A sustainable solution has to create stable, long-term job opportunities for the local people. If they can feed their families living with the forest, they will protect it. But how can a solution be scalable to reach real impact for people and climate? It requires a business model that investors like you want to invest in. Therefore, we created Fairventures Social Forestry. We are a project developer using an investment model for scaling forest restoration with real social and climate impact. Let me show you how our system works. It starts with identifying the right land and with socializing and educating the local population. Fairventures is raising capital from investors to start the planting activities. We created a professional agroforestry management system, making sure our products match market demand. We empower local people. Together, we are planting fast-growing timber and crops on degraded areas. Fairventures is developing the carbon project, and we are creating access to established markets, serving the needs of the industry with our sustainable timber, crops, and carbon. We create offtake relationships, and we are negotiating fair prices. Once in full swing, Fairventures is sharing net profits with the local communities, and we are distributing cash back to the investors. Sounds easy, right? What is so different with our solution? Our system is holistic. It creates social, ecological, and financial impact. And it is designed for scaling. Let's take a closer look. Combining returns with local livelihoods is an integral part of our solution. Training local people, long-term job opportunities, and sharing profits with local communities makes sure that our impact lasts. Our climate impact is much bigger than you expect. We protect existing forests, and with reforestation, we sequester carbon from the atmosphere. On top, there are two positive effects. Our timber is processed into construction timber and furniture. These products store carbon for a long time. Furthermore, our timber can be used in sustainable timber construction. There, it replaces high carbon emission products like concrete and steel. A vast positive climate effect. To scale our impact, we are using a business model. Means we are changing the game of tree planting from cost to return on investment. Our project returns are higher than 10%, and our exit returns are up to 20%. We diversify risk with differentiated revenue streams from fast-growing timber, crops, and carbon by building a portfolio of projects and by using an innovative blended finance structure. By addressing different risk-return expectations of investors, we attract different sources of funding. Grants, impact equity, and impact loans in the investment phase, and yield-focused funding in the operations phase when we generate ongoing continuous cash inflow. Yield-focused impact investors will create exit opportunities for the early investors. Is this just theory? No, we already do this. In 2018, we went from design to real life. On Borneo, where the idea was born, Fairventures Social Forestry started its showcase with 4 local communities on 3,000 hectares. We built a strong team with deep expertise, from agroforestry and plantation management, over business strategy and finance, to socialization and offtake markets. We implemented and we learned and adjusted our system. What have we achieved? A first sale of our carbon footprint to a German corporate. We signed offtake LOIs for 600,000 cubic meters of timber each year. We closed an impact loan with UBS Optimus Foundation, showing our project is bankable. And our local team works with more than 130 community members, more than 60% of which are women. Now it's time to bring our impact to scale. On Sumatra, this is the next area for scaling that we identified based on the key success factors. It is ready for rollout this year. Our vision is that in 10 years, Fairventures Social Forestry will manage 100,000 hectares, providing 25,000 livelihoods on the ground, reducing haze pollution from slash and burn agriculture, and creating a carbon impact of more than 9 million tons. The Livability Challenge prize money will support phase 1 of our new area, and it will trigger additional investor capital for scaling. Now we need your support to bring our impact to scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fairventures, for that presentation. And now let's please welcome in person Paul and Tisha on stage. And I believe Steve has some questions for you. Over to you, Steve.
Hi, Paul. I think it's Paul, Robert, Charles, or Tisha.
I'm Tisha.
Okay. Hi, Tisha. I guess first of all, congratulations. I think you are providing very real, tangible impact on from a social point of view in terms of communities and livelihoods on the ground, and also protecting our super precious carbon sinks in the region. So I just want to say a big thank you and well done on the work that you've done so far. The questions I had were, the first one is, how do you really plan to scale? Because on the face of it, it looks like this is a very much a project-driven platform that you have. And so in other words, to roll this out requires a large amount of people, so it's very people-intensive. Do you have any technology that you're using to enable you to be able to scale to the 100,000 hectares that you're talking about?
I would say over the last few months, we have mainly followed a bottom-up approach in terms of identifying suitable permits. What we are now putting quite some efforts on is to also roll out a more top-down kind of area analysis, where we use GIS, satellite analysis, and actually publicly available data layers that will make our searching and area selection process much more efficient in terms of identifying suitable areas. Then, regarding the type of permits that we will be targeting, we used to work on social forestry permits. That's our pilot project, but we see lots of potential in the so-called concession kind of permits that are much larger scale concessions held by timber companies. And we recently signed an MOU with the Association of Concession Holders in Indonesia. And then we talk about 50,000 hectares upwards of area sizes with a large portion of degraded land included, which actually perfectly fits our model.
Yeah, maybe to complement that, as Paul already mentioned, identifying the right land is one of the big challenges, and here we are on a good track. The other challenge is raise the financing. And here we established a blended finance mechanism that actually attracts different sources of capital from different investors, which have different risk return expectations. So this is how we're tackling this other great area of getting the finance to scale up. Technology-wise, what we do is we use technology that our sister company, Ventures Digital, developed to monitor our carbon footprint with real-life data. But in terms of scaling this up, yes, it is people in a work-intense business, somebody has to plant these trees and get their hands dirty. There's no way around that.
Okay, thanks. And so, in terms of from an investment point of view, if I understood it correctly, are the investors investing in a particular project, or are they investing in at the top of the company and having access to the company profits? Firstly, and then secondly, how do you think about exits for equity investors?
Yeah, to answer the first question, so at this moment we secure financing at a project level only. We are working on the larger vehicle, launching a larger vehicle, just like Robert referred to. That's together with Convergence, the NGO, Blended Finance from Canada. Related to the second question, can you repeat that one, please?
Yeah, the second question related to exits for equity investors.
Exactly, exactly. So the second subphase are the impact equity investors, and we believe once we are in the operations phase, which starts as from year 6, the first or the second year in the operations phase, it's a fully proven model, and we definitely believe that cash yield focused investors are willing to invest, creating an exit opportunity for the early impact equity investors.
And so who would you see driving those exits?
It would be us, actually. So the financial department from FSF would do the refinancing. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And then if I understood it correctly, your plan is to reach 100,000 hectares in the next 10 years, is that correct? And you're talking about 9 megatons of emissions per annum at that stage, is that correct? And I understood from the pitch that 2/3 of the carbon impact was related to sustainable timber and the carbon captured in the sustainable timber. So how are you progressing on that front in terms of the off-takers, for example?
So we signed... Please go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead. We signed off-take LOIs already for 600,000 cubic meters of timber each year. Bring that into perspective, the market in Indonesia for plywood is about 19 million cubics of timber each year. So we are only a fraction of that market. And if you bring it into perspective with our growth targets, the 600,000 cubics we already signed in off-take LOIs equals about 30,000 commercial hectares. So it's already a big step that we took, and we're not worried about off-take.
We have a last question.
So was that well understood? Was it clear what Robert indicated?
I guess it wasn't really clear in terms of what progress you had actually made in terms of the off-takers. Have you got contracts already? Are you already selling the sustainable timber? Is it being used, for example, in sustainable building and construction, which is, I think, what you presented?
Yeah, so we signed timber off-take LOIs for a total of 600,000 cubes of timber, while for one project we normally produce around 20K of cubes on a yearly basis. So we already have secured 30 times our yearly volume. So on the timber offtake side, we feel like we are completely safe. We would normally sell to the plywood industry. And then the plywood industry normally sells it as veneer into the construction and furniture industries.
Great, thanks.
Patty, you have a last question? Go ahead.
Hi, Paul. I was going to ask, you know, it does take a number of years, right, for trees to grow. So in your model, there are the credits that are additional revenues. What else, you know, do you have? If you could elaborate a little bit more on that. Are there?
Yeah, sure. So the revenue breakdown is as follows. We generate revenues from timber, cash crops, and carbon. And the split is 40-40-20 on the total revenue for a 25-year project basis. The cash crops are the front-loaded cash flows, actually. So we use those to finance the development of the asset during the first 5 years. And it saves us actually around 50-70% of the total investment need. So the revenues from the cash crops are quite important in our model. regarding the trees we plant. So that's Sengon, that's a local species. After 7 years, the trees reach a height of 25 meters and a diameter of 35 centimeters. So this is just a 2.5-year-old example, but it reaches 35 centimeters. And then it's harvested and the light wood or the logs, either as logs or as peeled, let's say, timber, it's sold into the processing industry, into the plywood processing industry. On top of that, we have the carbon coming from the agroforestry activities on degraded land, but also on conserving the existing forests.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for. Please join me to thank Fairventures. Thank you. All right, now please give a round of applause to all our finalists this afternoon for their wonderful presentations. Thank you, teams, for all your hard work and your insightful pitches. The judges, would I now invite you to the VIP room to take a recess for your deliberations. For our guests, please stay with us for our next segment. We will be hearing from last year's TLC winner, Sea Change, who will be sharing with us what they've achieved since the year passed. Thereafter, we'll be hosting for the first time the Livability quiz, which will be led by my colleague and eco-business moderator at large, Augustine Atungvan. For now, please enjoy the video.
Hi, my name is Gaurav Sant. I'm a professor of engineering at UCLA, and I'm also the founder of Sea Change. Sea Change is the winner of the 2021 Livability Challenge. One of the things that the challenge has been really instrumental at is helping us find partnerships in Singapore and work with the Public Utilities Board, where we are now building a demonstration plant to demonstrate the Sea Change technology in Singapore. What the Livability Challenge really helped us with is to think about going from a relatively small scale concept to building a technology that we could demonstrate in the real world. And Singapore is one of the 2 places in the world that we will first do this demonstration, if all goes to plan, in fact, in 2022.
Hi, welcome. We're here now with Gaurav Sant, who's the founder of Sea Change, the winner of the 2021 Livability Challenge. And I'm going to ask you a few questions on progress so far, if you don't mind, Gaurav. First of all, briefly explain a bit about how the technology works.
Yeah, so Sea Change is an approach to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere using the world's oceans as the mediums to do it with. So the simple way of explaining it is we send an electrical current into seawater, and we use electricity to recombine the constituents of seawater, which is calcium and magnesium ions, as an example, combine them with carbon dioxide that's dissolved in seawater to be able to lock up carbon dioxide in the form of solid minerals and what are known as bicarbonate ions. The simple way of explaining this is by using an analogy to a dish sponge. Do your dishes, you've got a really wet sponge, wring it out, and it's ready to absorb some more water again. So what we're really trying to do is, in essence, give the world's oceans the capacity to absorb additional carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which reduces atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations, which are a primary driver of climate change.
Okay. You sort of answered my next question, but why does the world need your technology now?
I think we've seen this come about more and more and more. Every single projection, every single IPCC report tells us very clearly, very categorically, that climate change and the effects of it are accelerating, becoming much more severe, becoming much more frequent. And all of this is linked to the accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What we're trying to do is couple an engineering intervention with a really large natural system, because the scale of the carbon management challenge is enormous, and we need to really combine top-flight engineering with really big natural systems to be able to make a difference. And that's what Sea Change seeks to achieve.
Now, there are numerous types of carbon capture technology around in the world at the moment. Some old, some emerging. Why is yours better?
When we started to think about the underpinnings of Sea Change, what we were really focused on is being able to achieve really large-scale carbon removal and abatement while doing it at an accessible and affordable cost. That's the first part. The second part that goes with it is we wanted to think about carbon management in a way that you achieve really stable, really durable carbon management. And when you lock up carbon dioxide in the form of carbonates and in the form of bicarbonate ions, you're talking about solutions that give you stability of the carbon dioxide that you immobilize for in excess of 10,000 years. When you think about the time frame, when you think about the scale, the solution the sea change offers has the potential to be truly transformative at a global scale. And we think that this is an important part of how we want to think about long-scale, very, very permanent, very durable carbon management solutions.
So you won the 2021 Livability Challenge, and you mentioned that the solution has a lot of potential. What sort of progress have you made since you won the Livability Challenge?
Yeah, so we've made fabulous progress. The team's been working really hard on this, and we're at the point that we're building demonstration plants that we will deploy, one each in Singapore and the other one in Los Angeles, to be able to demonstrate how the technology works in the real world, to be able to assess the economics, to assess the potential, to assess the performance. And we're doing this in a really interesting way, where while the system in Los Angeles is based in the LA port, the system in Singapore is actually being run and deployed at one of the public utility boards desalination plants, where we can actually imagine and understand and study how well it integrates with desalination facilities, which not only helps to decarbonize water supply, but also gives you really the sense of how this would work if deployed at a really large scale around the world.
Okay, so it's obviously a highly complex sort of technology. What are the sort of challenges that you've faced in reaching the sort of scale that you want to see for sea change?
That's a great question, Robin, but I think the honest answer is we need to learn a lot more to find out. You know, we've made a lot of progress. We've understood what the key issues that we need to address are. But really, with systems of this sort, you really learn the most by operating them in the real world. So I think a very important thing is a part of the work that we will do in Singapore, we'll actually operate the system at a PUB site for about 6 months, because you really want operational experience to help you understand what the challenges and the limitations are, so you can fix them and address them in the next iteration of the technology development cycle.
Okay, so one big challenge is cost that a lot of people talk about. What sort of progress are you making in trying to bring the cost down for this solution?
Yeah, so we've been really fortunate in that, you know, when we start to think about this process, we're running what's known as an electrolysis process. So while you can achieve carbon removal, the next thing that you do is you end up producing hydrogen. Now, the reason that hydrogen is attractive is not only is it a fuel, but it's a fuel that you can sell in the marketplace. And so you're effectively producing a co-product that allows you to bring down the primary cost of carbon removal. We think that this is fundamentally really important, and you know, I think based on all of the information that we have on hand, we're well on our way to meeting our cost metrics as we originally imagined. And so that's really favorable update.
Okay, so blue sky thinking, looking to the future, what are your main ambitions for sea change? Where do you see the project in, say, 5 or 10 years' time?
I think, you know, where we want to be is really building multiple plants around the world, each plant at the scale of 1 million tons of carbon removal a day. You know, we've got to sort of take a step back and imagine the state of this challenge. We've got to remove about 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide starting in 2050 every year for the next 50 or 100 years. It's going to take thousands of plants to do this. And I think if we can do our part, we can make a difference by building the first units and the first tens and the hundreds of those plants that will catalyze the overall economy globally towards thinking about carbon management as being affordable and accessible. And I think that's what we want to be a part of.
Okay, so you're clearly highly ambitious with a project like this. How hopeful are you that humanity as a species can meet the 2050 net zero target?
You know, I think it's fundamentally important to remain optimistic. Without optimism, I think it's all very hard. But we've got to balance optimism with thinking about really the difficulties and the challenges that are needed to solve a challenge at this scale, a problem at this scale. This is without a doubt one of the largest issues that humanity will tackle and has tackled and will tackle. And so once we contextualize against that, you know, I think it's also important to say that humans have been incredibly successful at overcoming adversity. And you know, technology has been a big part of the lives that we live, look all around us. And I think all that said, technology and science and engineering are without a doubt, at least in my opinion, the future.
Okay. Final question for you. Do you have any advice for young scientists or emerging entrepreneurs following in your footsteps, wanting to take on a massive challenge like decarbonisation?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are sort of 3 comments I'd offer. I think the first is it's important to have big ambitions, big aspirations. I think it's important to have a really strong, grounded set of knowledge and principles that we follow. And, you know, speaking to my role as an academic, I think so much of what we do is grounded in a super solid education. not for the ability that it endows us with a degree, but it gives us the ability to think. And I think, challenges of this sort are, require what are known as systemic solutions. And we need to think about a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces, and bring them together. And I think, staying hopeful and staying knowledgeable is a big part of that.
Gaurav Sant, thank you very much for joining us.
So can we have a round of applause for Gaurav, the winner of 2021 Livability Challenge. And it's, of course, fascinating to see that interview done. So thank you very much, Robin, for some great questions as well. We're going to move on to the next segment, slightly new in today's program. We're going to introduce a little quiz for all of you here, as well as everybody else joining us on the virtual platforms. And so for this, we'll need all of you to get involved. So just go ahead, take out your phones, your smart devices, scan that QR code, slido.com, and the password that you have, 8696573. All right, you've got that? Just giving everybody some time to log in. Make sure you've got that. Yeah, good. We should see a whole bunch of names because I understand we have a large audience here in the ballroom as well as people joining us in the virtual community. So you see, as you join in, as you slido.com and you get that password in, you scan it, of course, you're in. You're ready for the game. I'm just checking my phone here for messages as well. No worries, we're going to give you some time, all right? So we're doing this year specifically because it's going to be a while before the judges come back. You've noticed the judges have adjourned to another room to deliberate on the 6 teams that have made it to the finals of this year's Livability Challenge. And so while they're going to have a tough time deciding who's the winner, all right, we decided to introduce the Livability Quiz, all right, to commemorate this year. And for those of you who have been following this journey, this is the 5th year of the Livability Challenge, all right? All right, keep on joining in, all right? Scan the QR code, slido.com, the hashtag 8696573, that will get you in. I can see quite a number of people already in, both here in the ballroom as well as in the virtual community, right? And then I've got my colleague here, Ami, who is giving me the hand signals from the floor. He's my floor manager. So when we're ready to go, are we ready to go? All right, we're ready to go, and so we're going to go for our first practice. Take note, this is not the actual quiz. So these are the test questions to kind of make sure your devices are working and everybody is in. What does SDG stand for? What does SDG stand for? So go ahead and choose the right answer. Sustainability, due diligence and governance, Sustainable Development Goals, Singapore Development Guidelines, or Seeding Development and Growth. What does SDG stand for? Choose the right answer. I can see we have a wide range of people here, including a very young participant in the front row. Congratulations, young man. All right, you've decided? Have you all decided? Okay, remember this is the practice run, all right? We're just going to test. Sustainable Development Goals, congratulations everybody. So you have been following the UN SDGs. And I'm curious, do you know how many UN SDGs there are? Well, that's another one you should be paying attention to, right? Today's event very much touches on the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And 98% of you got the right answer. Congratulations. Let's go on to the second test question. What does TLC stand for? I can see some of you are smiling and laughing. We just wanted to have some fun. Well, that was fast. You guys are quick, guys and girls. So the livability challenge is, of course, the correct answer. I'm surprised some of you actually wanted tender loving care. Well, we hope you get it all the time. But 87% of you voted for the livability challenge, and that is correct, right? So you've had a chance now to warm up and get yourselves familiar with the device and to vote. It's still not too late to join in the quiz, right, Ami? They can still log in and get onto the slido.com, hashtag 8696573. And are you ready now for the actual quiz? This is the actual quiz, all right? We have 10 questions for this quiz. Oh, by the way, that's the scoreboard for the earlier practice round. Audrey, or is it Andre? Andre, all right, and then Dean, then sustain credits, whoever you are, Zizin and RN. So you see, what will happen is later, at the midpoint of the actual quiz, we will be flashing the leaderboard to see who's scoring, who's doing well in the quiz. And like I said, once again this year, we're doing this livability quiz while the judges have adjourned to deliberate on the results and who will be the winner. Of course, we're all waiting for that grand announcement. See lots of names on the board, all right? Last chance, log into slido.com, get your hashtag in, your numbers, all right? All okay? Ami, shall we start with the actual quiz? Or we're still waiting for a few more to log in? I see the numbers are growing. I can see in the corner, in the top right-hand corner. We should be going way past this number because I understand there's a whole bunch of you here in the ballroom, as well as a huge number following us virtually. I mean, you've seen some of the people joining us from the very beginning of this afternoon all over the world, all right? So keep those numbers coming in. That was also a chance for you to test your devices and to practice with the warm-up questions. Good, good, good. Happy to see you all coming in. Let's see if we can cross that 100 mark, all right? First question, all right? The Livability Challenge 2022 is the what edition of the Livability Challenge? Now, bear in mind, as soon as you've voted, we're going to flash the right answer as well. So you will get to see the answer to your question, all right? So the Livability Challenge is the what edition? Now, if you've been paying attention to all the speeches and the welcome remarks, there you have it. It's the 5th edition. This is the 5th edition of the Livability Challenge, and 97% of you have got it. All right, congratulations. Stand by. Yep. So every time you see the green will flash up. Oh, guys, slow down, all right? We have time. If we rush this too quickly, I don't think we'll be able to have, the judges will take some time. What is Singapore's 30 by 30 vision? Take some time now to vote. I'm not going to read the answers to you because you can see it on your devices. It's on the big screen as well. And for those of you following us in the virtual community on the platforms, now you're going to know my age. If you've seen Indiana Jones, there's this famous line, choose wisely, my friends, choose wisely. Yeah, choose the right one. They all seem pretty close. But this is a real deal. This is Singapore's 30 by 30 vision. So what do you think is the right answer? All right. It's great to see a lot more people are joining us. I've seen a number of people voting. And there you have it. To build our agri and food capacity to produce 30% of our nutritional needs locally and sustainably by the year 2030. 97% of you voted this. When you see the green flashing on the screen, the green indicates the right answer, all right? Quite a number of you have logged in and are participating. Congratulations. So quite a number of you have got the right answer. By the way, if any of you want the questions and the answers as well, do talk to the eco-business team. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you, but the production company is urging me to move on. Emissions will need to peak in how many years' time and fall rapidly thereafter to keep global warming sufficiently in check, to keep the world livable, according to the latest report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, otherwise known as IPCC. So what do you think are the number of years we need to peak by in order to keep global warming sufficiently in check? I believe all of us in this room and everybody else following us virtually believe very strongly in this, and we do want to hit that target. So what do you think are the years? Okay, now the quiz starts to get interesting. Remember, this is only the third question, and I can see now it's getting a little bit tougher. I mean, you may want to sneak in a quick look on your research, but it's good if you can internalize the number in your mind, because this is very real. So 41% voted 3 years. And there's another huge number of you who think we have 10 years left to peak. But what is the right answer? What is really the right answer? Are we ready for the answer now? Are we going to share it with them? So my friends, we don't have much time. The actual answer is 3 years. We need to peak in 3 years from now in order for us to keep global warming sufficiently in check and to keep this world livable, at least according to the IPCC report. So 41% of you got this right, and that, by the way, was the third question, right? So we've got 7 more questions to go, so hang in there for those of you who've got as many of the answers correct so far. Shall we go on now to the next question, team? Agri-tech, all right, must involve small farms and not just large agri-corporations. And it's an important theme in this year's Livability Challenge. Just how many small family farms are there right now in Southeast Asia? In Southeast Asia, we have 11 countries in Southeast Asia, including Timor-Leste. So how many small family farms do you think there are across these 11 countries in Southeast Asia? Interesting, right? And today we're actually learning quite a bit of general knowledge as well. So once again, wow, that was fast. 51% of you have voted, and the rest of you have a different set of numbers. But you can see from the 4 answers that you've been given a choice to choose from, quite a big difference in the numbers. So this one you may have to get it right. Across Southeast Asia, across 11 countries, how many small family farms are there? How, team? Shall we wait for a little bit more so that the rest can vote? All right, there you have it. 70 million. 70 million. That's still a huge number. 70 million small family farms spread across Southeast Asia. And that was Livability quiz question number 4. We're going to reach the halfway point soon. You got that? You taking notes? All right. Shall we move on, team? Are we all right? 5th question, halfway point. Despite the potential to provide a third of the global mitigation action necessary to attain the 1.5 degree target, less than of the global climate finance has been allotted for nature-based solutions. Again, nature-based solutions is one of the 3 themes for this year's the Livability Challenge. So what do you think is that percentage? What percentage of global climate finance has been allotted to nature-based solutions? You've got 4 options there. What do you think? Wow. 60% of you have a very firm idea on what that percentage is, and you have chosen and you voted. Don't give up, all right? Those of you who are still taking part in the quiz, don't give up. You've reached the halfway point, and you've got a couple of, some of you are scoring quite well. Hopefully you're on track to, scoring well throughout the 10 questions. So shall we flash the right answer? It will appear for you in green. There you have it. can I just say, as your moderator, it's less than 3%. Less than 3%. And there's your leaderboard. Maxime, wherever you are, I'm not sure whether you're here in the hall or on the virtual world, you've got 5 out of 5, right? And Sven also, and then Jeffrey, and then VP and SS. I think what's on the side is that the duration? How fast? So Maxime, you're the fastest on your answer, all right? The hardest question is flashed for you at the bottom. So that also indicates the level of difficulty, what we call LOD, level of difficulty. I must admit, when we worked together on this quiz, we did try to make it as tough as possible, all right? A couple of easy questions, and then a couple of them are quite tough. So if you are new to this, well, you can still join in. We're adding up again. Slido.com, scan that QR code, 8696573, and you're in, right? It's a 10-part quiz. 10-part quiz. You've reached the halfway point. We've seen from the leaderboard quite a number of you have got the correct answers, but also it's about speed, right, and accuracy, of course. How are we doing so far, Ami? All right. He's given me the signal. So we are going now with the second set of questions. So remember, there are 10 questions altogether, right? I'm going to slow down a little bit, all right? I'm going to slow down a little bit. What is the current percentage of fossil fuels in Southeast Asia's energy mix? Important question. What do you think is the current percentage of fossil fuels in the total energy mix for Southeast Asia? You got 4 options, and one of them is a 0.5 percentage. So check carefully. What do you think is the right answer? Right, that was fast. 56% of you seem to be pretty sure what that number is. But that's interesting, because that means you're aware what the other part of that mix is, which is, of course, to renewable energy, alternative sources, right? We can move on. And the green light will indicate the right answer is 75% of the energy mix in Southeast Asia is fossil fuels, all right? Hopefully we can change that number very quickly. 7th question, second of this second batch. Southeast Asia holds roughly what percentage of the world's global nature-based solutions? Once again, this is one of the 3 themes. What do you think is the percentage of nature-based solutions right here in Southeast Asia? 4 options. I must say it's starting to get a bit tough. Yeah, now the quiz gets a little bit tough. So those of you who have been doing well, I wish you continued success. Maybe we'll see some new names on the leaderboard. Who knows? So what do you think is that percentage of nature-based solutions here in Southeast Asia? Whoa, 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 guys. So, can we go back to the answer, please, production team? I'm sure they want to know what was the answer to that percentage of nature-based solutions. Are you able to do that? Yeah, okay, production team, just hold your horses, huh? Take it easy, take it easy. So 30% of the world's global nature-based solutions, 30% is in Southeast Asia. And 52% of you got the answer right to that one. Do you still want to do the leaderboard, or shall we go on to the next question? Ami, we go on to the next question? Okay, next question, which is question number 8 in the quiz. Agriculture is one of just 7 sectors fueled by advanced connectivity, and this will contribute to at least how many trillion US dollars in additional value to global GDP over this decade? according to the McKinsey report. So if you've read the McKinsey report or you subscribe to it, then you might have an advantage. But what do you think? We've got 4 options there. Again, you guys are very fast. Interesting. I think this is going to be the part where the quiz decides the winner, because some of you are optimistic and you voted for 8 trillion, and then the next lot voted for 20 trillion. But the right answer is, Ami? 2 trillion. Yep. At least 2 trillion if agriculture is paid serious attention to. Is one of 7 sectors. And so now 17% scored this part correctly. And this is going to be the deciding factor. I mean, for those of you earlier when you were on a roll, I wish you continued success. I hope you're getting the answers, and do take note of the answers to the questions, right? I mean, this is very interesting. It's good knowledge to keep. Are we okay, Ami, so far? We roll on to the next one. We're going to come up to the 9th question. Okay, this one, production team, please give them time. There are 4 statements here, but one of them is a false statement. I repeat, there are 4 statements here. Which one is a false statement? Again, I'm not going to read it out for you, for all of you present in the ballroom as well as those in the virtual community. There are 4 statements here. Which one do you think is not accurate, is false? You really need to know a little bit about the direct air capture thing, which is basically known as DAC. Which one is false? In other words, the other 3 should be accurate, painting the right picture. I must say I'm impressed. I must say I'm impressed. I'm looking at an audience here and in the virtual world. You people really know your stuff, huh? Impressive, impressive. Shall we show them which one is the correct answer, production team? You're right. 19 direct air capture plants globally capture 1 million tons. That is not true. You want to know what the actual capture is? 10,000 tons. Yeah, it's not 1 million tons of carbon dioxide yearly. It's actually 10,000 tons. So it sounds nice, but that's not true. All right. So congratulations to the 51% who spotted that false statement. Are you ready? With a huge sigh, we bring ourselves to the final question in the quiz. Production team, please give them time, because this is the last chance for some of them to hopefully get the right answer. Total investment in nature in terms of US dollars, they're all in the trillion range. What is required between now and 2050, assuming we have a 4-fold increase of current investment amounts, to successfully tackle the interlinked climate, biodiversity, and land degradation crises, according to the United Nations Environment Program, otherwise known as UNEP? What do you think is that number? What number is needed between now and 2050, right, to successfully tackle these challenges according to the United Nations Environment Program? They're all in the trillion. You know what's going to happen? I think we're going to see now the deciding factor with that final question in a 10-part quiz. All right, we can see now who will be on the leaderboard. But for the rest of you, please don't be disappointed. And there you have it, 8.1 trillion. According to the UNEP report, total investment in nature of 8.1 trillion US dollars is required between now and 2050 to tackle the challenges that have been listed, right? So there you have it. And see, once again, the change in the names. Now, production team, we've got five names here from these 5 questions. I take it you're going to combine it with the other 5, right? And then you will come up with a winning, because you've got 10 questions altogether. Am I right? Right? So you're giving me a signal to pause for now? To stop for now, all right? So the last answer, the hardest question was the one on agriculture, the 7 sectors, which one will contribute, all right? And so you've got now 5 names here, and we're going to combine this with the 5 from the earlier team in order to get you the winner of the quiz, all right? So give us a little bit of time. So I was just checking with my floor manager, Ami, and he's guiding me. The interesting thing is that the judges are making good progress in their deliberations, and they'll be joining us very soon. So why not I give you a chance to think very carefully. We've seen the 6 presentations earlier for this year's Livability Challenge. Out of many teams that participated, 6 made it to the finals, and all 6 presented their presentations, which you notice were pre-recorded to a specific duration, and then they came on stage, and again they were given an allocated amount of time. All right, so now we're asking you to vote. Who do you think will win the Livability Challenge for 2022? We had 6 teams, huh? Sequestrate, Gate, Impact Fact, Wasna, Fairventures, Social Forestry, and Red Dot Analytics. Production team, if you could kind of squeeze your screen a little bit so we can pick up the last data entry. We can barely see the percentage. Thank you team. Yeah, thank you. All right, good. We managed to squeeze it all into the screen. So who do you think will win the Livability Challenge 2022? You're voting according to their presentation, right? What was convincing, precise, and to the point answers to the questions? I was taking notes myself during the Q&A. Judges, you may want to just see, this is the audience. They've just voted before you walked in. So the audience here, both in the ballroom as well as those in the virtual community, got people. God, everybody is rushing me with stuff. I'm like overloaded on my clipboard. All right, so like, wow, that was fast. So judges, this is the audience poll, all right? So we want you to keep track of this, because if you have got this right, then you will certainly be joining us when we celebrate, when we announce the actual winner, all right? Okay, so now, earlier, when the judges were stepped out to make their deliberations, we had a 10-part quiz. So it's my pleasure to announce the winner, or winners, is a joint winner. Maxime and SM are the winners of the Livability quiz. Can we have a round of applause for Maxime and SM? I know you're wondering who these people are, but I have no idea who they are. Maxime, are you in the hall? Would you like to put your hand up, Maxime? Oh, that's Maxime. Congratulations. And SM, are you in the hall, SM? Oh yes, you're here. So can we give them a round of applause? The 2 of them are here. Judges, you may want to know, the 10 questions for the quiz were really tough. And we saw at the midpoint, after 5 questions, we started to see who's really knowledgeable about the issues that we're talking about today. But let's move on. It's now my pleasure to move on to the next part of the program, all right? So at this point, with all of you here, thank you so much. And to our audience following us in the virtual community, please do continue to share your thoughts in our chat boxes as we move into the final segment of our event. Now, after those pitches we've heard today, I'm sure the judges have some thoughts and feedback for our team and our teams who will be joining us on stage. I'd now like to invite John to start us off by providing the judges' feedback for WASNA.
Check. Very well done. Again, Matthew, really appreciate your presentation. Yeah, really just a lot of positive feedback. I think you guys are attacking a very big problem from so many different perspectives. It's not just the climate angle, but obviously sort of the animal rights issue as well. Very large scale sort of impact that you can have once you sort of get the solution going. There's a real moat around your business in terms of IP. Yeah, and so there wasn't a whole lot, I would say, that I think is there to improve. I just think you're on a journey, you have a path, you have a goal, so it's really just about execution from here. So really appreciate your efforts. Thanks.
So I will be providing the feedback for sequestrate. So basically, that's a very worthwhile effort to actually capture the carbon dioxide in the oceans, and definitely applaud you for the technology that you have developed and the pilots that you are going to deploy. I think one of the things that perhaps you would like to focus on is the social impact and also the impact on biodiversity. And I would think that definitely a lot of value in what you're doing.
Thank you, Michelle. And that was Michelle providing feedback for sequestrate. Am I right? Yeah. And now we'll invite Patty to provide the judges' feedback for GATE.
Yes. Again, I think that MRV is a key area that needs to be addressed in order, especially lowering the cost of it and the accuracy levels, key to unlocking more nature-based solutions. So I think it's great what GATE is doing. Maybe as feedback, and the other thing is that I've seen a lot of satellite data companies trying to measure carbon and all that, and so I do see the value of the that you're bringing with the eddy covariance and flux. That's great. I haven't seen any other Asian companies doing similar things. I know of a US company, Lycor, and in the UK, Quantera, but it's great to see this happening in Asia. I guess maybe I would focus on the costs, since the measurement, I would highlight that as well. And maybe I would also focus on one natural asset, first, because I know the complexity and the difficulty of doing that one well. And so instead of sort of addressing blue carbon and all of the different types of carbon, yeah, but great.
Thank you, Patty. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Lim, your insights and feedback for Impact Fact.
Impact Fact, Mr. Shigeki and team, thank you very much for your presentation. I think you are in a very interesting space. When you talk about food, the taste of food, very often is more important than the nutritional value of food. To a lot of people, eating is an art, not a science. So you are in an interesting space. And it's also a space where the cultured meat producers are very interested in, so you're in a good place. So I want to congratulate you all. You have a very strong team from what I can gather from the way you answer some of the questions I asked. Strong team technically. And I think in terms of business model, bringing it to market, you also got it right. I think the key is to work with the cultured meat producer and work on them, and then they take you into the market. So I think it's overall a very good project. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. And over to Vaughn, your feedback, please, for Red Dot Analytics.
Hi, Yongkan and Colin. Congratulations on being the crowd favorite. So just shows that probably you really did a really good presentation, so well done. I think there's a lot of things you could do for the carbon emission space and carbon credits, so it's a great opportunity for us to hear your pitch. Now, I think for competitions like this, when it comes to the Q&A, sometimes the judges really want to hear real concrete examples, for example, like how you actually help assisting data center players to achieve their goals, and how to tap into the majority of the market. Finally, I think the next area to look forward to is consider working with your investors to expand and deliver on your global ambitions. That could be leveraging on your scientific team, technology team, but at the same time as looking at your BD and marketing side of things to commercialize and scale up. Thank you.
Thank you. And then finally, may I invite Steve, your feedback, please, for Fairventures Social Forestry.
So, Paul and Tisha, congratulations on making the shortlist and on a great presentation today and addressing the questions. What we really, really liked about what you were doing was a real nature-based solution that has proven track record over the last 4 years. It really helping social communities and also having a very real carbon impact as well. The other things we liked about what you were doing were going on the ground and the on-ground engagement, which is so critical to making sure there's long-term viability of the projects you're working on. We really like the fact that you had a sustainable business model, not only working with the local communities, but also thinking about revenue sources as well, whether it's from crops or whether it's from timber or from carbon credits, and actually demonstrating you can actually deliver off-takers and deliver revenue from that already. I think in terms of areas to think about going forward is a little bit around how you can leverage technology more. As you go from 5,000 field workers to 10,000 to 50,000 potentially, or even more, how can you leverage technology to do the measurement, the MRV process, but also then around training or engagement of those communities at scale, so you can really go bigger than even you are thinking at the moment. But well done.
So can you please join me in giving a round of applause to all 6 teams present here, as well as their team members joining us virtually back in their home countries. So teams, thank you very much. Can you kindly move off stage and we'll move on to the announcements. So thank you, judges John, Michelle, Patty, Mr. Lim, Vaughn, and Steve for giving us your feedback and insights. I hope the winning team and, of course, all the other 5 teams will take to heart the important feedback you've given them, which will help them in their continued journey. I'm so nervous. It's like I've got so much stuff given to me in the last minute. It's like I've got to get my head together. But anyway, let's move on. Let's stay focused, Augustine. So moving on to the first award today, we will be presenting 2 $50,000 investments by Quest Ventures. So I'm going to open up the envelope. I've got 2 envelopes here, all right? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. You see, as usual, there are a lot of important reminders. Okay, before I do that, quick apologies for that. On my side here, if the camera can flash the table, you will see the trophies that are being displayed. So before we go into the actual announcement of the results, it's a TLC tradition. So I'd like to say a few words about the trophies that we are awarding to our winners. And on this little table on my right, you can see they're actually made by a local company. And the company's name is Roger and Sons, all right? It embodies the spirit of innovation and inspiration. The awards are handcrafted, all right, by recycled angsana wood and is covered with a light bulb. And the light bulb represents the brightness of ideas. So all teams will be receiving this special trophies designed by a local company, Roger and Sons. And it's nice that it's made up of the handcrafted recycled angsana wood, and the light bulb represents the brightness of ideas, all right? We do, of course, have the results of the popular poll, but we'll come back to that later. And back to the first two $50,000 investments, and I was about to open the envelope. $50,000 investment from Quest Ventures to Impact Fact. So congratulations, Impact Fact, on winning this opportunity from Quest Ventures, and thank you for that group photo as well. Second, $50,000 investment, Quest Ventures goes to Fairventures. Thank you, Michelle. Then we have a presentation on the $100,000 investment by Purpose Venture Capital. $100,000 investment from Purpose Venture Capital to Red Dot Analytics. Group photo, everybody. Nice big smiles. Thank you so much, Ron. Next up, Amasia, offering a $100,000 investment. Invite John up on stage. $100,000 investment, Amasia, awarded to Gate. Thank you, everybody, and nice smiles, big smiles, good photo. Thank you, John. Next up, PlanetRise, $100,000 investment. I'd like to invite Steve on stage. $100,000 investment from PlanetRise awarded to Fairventures. Group photo, everybody. Nice smiles. Thank you so much, Steve. Next up, Silverstrand Capital, offering a $100,000 investment. I'd like to invite Patty on stage. Silverstrand Capital, $100,000 investment awarded to Wasna. Thank you so much, everybody. So once again, can we have a round of applause for all the winners who came up on stage for the various investment prizes? And now it's my pleasure to hand over the floor to my colleague Jessica, who's going to take over for the grand announcement.
Thank you so much, Augustine. Please give a round of applause to Augustine, who's done a fantastic job with our quiz. Now, we've come to the most highly anticipated moment, and the question that we've been asking all afternoon is who will win the $1 million funding from Temasek Foundation? I'd now like to invite Mr. Lim on stage for the unveiling of the TLC 2022 winner. Okay, let's have the TLC drum roll, please. The Livability Challenge grand winner for 2022 goes to Fairventures Social Forestry. Congratulations to Fairventures. This is the first time that a nature-based solution has won the TLC initiative. And we would now like to take a photo. Thank you. So, I'd now like to ask Mr. Lim to share a few words and his thoughts on why Fairventures is this year's TLC winner. Mr. Lim, over to you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The judges have an interesting deliberation, and we finally decided on Fairventures for the following reason. One, Fairventures nature-based solution is one of the very, very few, maybe the first one I've come across, that address the whole issue of this nature-based solution from end to end. So they talk about the forest restoration part, the agroforestry, timber, cash crops, how they can capture that, including carbon credit. Then they look at the social side, the long-term partnership with stakeholders, with the local farmers to give them jobs, to give them a livelihood, and then off-take agreement, and how this will prevent slash and burn and illegal logging and so on. And to end it all, they have a blended financing model that will make this whole project viable, sustainable, and where investor can come in and investor can exit. They are also addressing a very big problem, a big issue here. We have vast expanse of degraded land in the region, and if the solution is successful, we hope they will scale and move on from one piece of degraded land to another piece of degraded land. So once again, congratulations, Fairventures, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lim. And we're going to invite Fairventures on. The Fairventures team, you have been invited to say a couple of words on winning the Livability Challenge this year. Keep it under 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay, I'm still a little bit high, I would think. Thank you so much for all the support and opportunity to join this challenge. Actually, this means so much for us. We're looking to our second project in Jambi right now, so this really made a ton for us. Me, myself, is from Kalimantan, where our first project starts, and yeah, what I can say to you, this is really matters. I engage with the local community about 3 years, and I can see what kind of impact we actually bring to the local community. It may, maybe you can only see numbers and chart and everything, but I've seen the real impact on the ground, and I hope you can support us in long term. Thank you.
Thank you once again to all our finalist teams for your hard work and your wonderful ideas. This is only the beginning, and I'm sure you'll be attracting a lot more investments beyond those awarded this afternoon. Thank you to those in the different time zones as well who have been with us this entire journey.
Thank you also to all of you present in the ballroom and in the virtual community. Thank you so much to our judges and all the teams who have made it to the finals. To our judges, Mr. Lim, Michelle, Vaughn, Patty, John, and Steve, thank you for being with us on this journey and providing us with your knowledge and experience, and for walking the talk by putting the capital into these projects. This event would also have not been possible without the support of our amazing partners, more than 70 organizations from across the world who have been part of our journey.
More importantly, to Temasek Foundation, a huge thank you to your vision and partnership on this important initiative. And as Augustine has showed, we want to really thank our strategic partners, our challenge partners, our outreach partners,
our communications partner, APCO, and also the team behind the SDG Code, which powered this year's the Livability Challenge. So thank you to our strategic challenge, outreach, communications partner, and the team behind SDG Co. Can we give a round of applause to all of them? Thank you so much.
Last but not least, I'd like to express my gratitude to the team behind the scenes at EcoBusiness, Temasek Foundation, and Marina Bay Sands. The crew all here, they've been working tirelessly to put this event together seamlessly, so please join me to thank all of them working behind the scenes.
We also want to thank you, our wonderful audience, for staying with us throughout this entire afternoon, and for those of you joining us in the virtual side as well. Thank you all for being part of this event and this growing community.
Our global quest to drive impact and to find the best sustainability ideas will continue, so keep them coming. We're going to be sending a survey, so I would appreciate if all of you take some time, and do help us to spread the word on TLC by posting to your networks with the hashtag TLC 2022 and Ecosperity. Please look out for the next edition of the Livability Challenge. And for those joining us in person, I'm very happy to announce that we're going to have drinks and canapes now. And as you know, drinks are also a solution. So please do stay and join us. Till next time, see you.
Thank you once again, and a round of applause, everybody.
He's just he's just he's just he's just